Backpack Broadcasting continues to bring you the best original sports content, but now you can get more of the content you love. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus content, including behind-the-scenes footage and interviews from the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, or the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All this exclusive content comes via Patreon. There are tiered levels of patronage, and each Backpack Broadcasting patron receives exclusive perks. Your support helps Backpack Broadcasting create more of the original content that you love. Visit Backpack Broadcasting's Patreon page and become a patron today. We've been fortunate enough to use the connections that we had within the sports industry to get certain guests, or people telling us, hey, we'd like if you bring this person on, and sometimes listen to that, or people that maybe hadn't been on certain platforms and give them a voice to do that. And we hope that eventually turns into some bigger things, which we may have in the future. But I think that the hardest part, I think, really always is doing it with anything in life. And the reason I think we even talk about this, we talk a lot of sports and hip hop, but this is just so important, I think, to talk to people about just doing stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of younger people out there I've mentored in journalism, sports journalism. And I tell them all the time, it's like, do your own stuff or start doing your own stuff or connect with people that are doing that, because that's how you're going to be able to get things done. Yeah. You know, I remember, this is 8 years ago, but I remember... No, this is more than 8 years ago. Oof. My out of college, my mentor, and I think I spoke about this a little bit before on the podcast. Mm-hmm. My mentor kind of is the one who told me you should start doing your own thing, something with backpack journalism. And that's how Backpack Broadcasting came about. Yeah. He was like, you really need to do your own thing. Whenever I look back at it, I'm going to always say, because I didn't do things the traditional route as a journalist. I didn't go to a small market. And Michelle, who was our guest here previously, she was one of the people who told me, back in 2007, 2008, 10 years ago, was like, you don't have to leave New York. We spoke about this the first time we had her on. Yeah. You can do it. And she was a supporter of me doing my own thing. And doing my own thing has built into doing this podcast or the Sports Walk web series or Sideline Stories, things that I didn't even think I was going to create 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. But now doing those things, that has gotten me so many opportunities. It's what got me to News 12. It's what got me on Nets Daily. It's what I think those things mattered and to get me to where I am now with AccuWeather. You never know where what you create is going to take you, but now the thing I love about today that's better than people who grew up in this industry 20, 30, 40 years ago is you can do it. There's literally nobody stopping you. If you want to invest a little bit of money, and sometimes it doesn't even take a lot of money nowadays, and time. Mm-hmm. Look, there's people out there doing shows on lower quality on their phones. Maybe not the best quality, but hey, they're doing it, man.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're putting their stuff out there.
That's the thing too. Now it's not a huge risk, worst case scenario. You know what I mean? Like, you probably wouldn't lose out on a lot of money trying to put your idea to work, whatever idea it is that you have to put into practice.
No, and here's the thing. It might not work out in terms of what you think it may work out. I think a lot of times people put this has to happen for it to work out, or that has to happen, instead of actually focusing on making things better. Yeah. Every time you put it out, if you did that, you put the work into that, it can get better. And like you said, you put out a podcast, you can't get down, or a video. The first time, man, I only got 5 views. Yeah. I remember we've
been there.
Yeah, I remember my first backpack video.
Yeah, there's some weeks we put out episode. I'm like, damn, we didn't do better than this. But, whatever.
But I never felt the episode was bad.
And this is one of the points that Joe Rogan made too, and I agree with this, and we know this from some experience, that it's not necessarily about whether you have only 1 or 200 people watching, listening to you. Who are those people? Because that matters too. You might get somebody, from somewhere who sees the talent, and they're like, hey, we want you to do some stuff for us, whatever the case may be.
And I've had that experience happen many times. Yeah. So that's why I always tell people, don't get too infatuated with the numbers. People do to some degree. And Joe Rogan said that. He made that point. He's like, all you need is that one person out of whatever. It could be 5 people that mess with your show, and that one person out of the 5 sees it and is like, yo, I like what you do. I could put you in this place or that place. And you never know as connections work out. Connections happen in all weird kinds of ways. Yeah. So, sometimes just embrace that. And just enjoy the you have to enjoy the process, man.
Yeah, because maybe
you gotta enjoy the process.
Because maybe the show itself doesn't blow up necessarily. However, because of the platform you created for yourself, that can take you to, now you're gonna be working with this network, and you're gonna have some form of creative control. or you're going to be a talent at this place. You know, you're creating avenues in that way. Like back in the day, if you wanted to get on radio, for example, which I guess, you know, podcast radio, whatever, that's the equivalent now. If you wanted to get on radio back in the day, you probably would have had to have the overnight shift at a really localized station, you know, covering sports or covering news that you don't really want to cover like that, but you're just trying to break in, and you're doing like 3 to 7 a.m. or 1 to 5 a.m. and things like that, and you're not getting that much, and then you have to work your way up the ladder in that company, and then in a lot of times you're going from company to company to company. Now, you can just do it yourself. And granted,
and make the companies come to you.
Yeah, and you're not going to make as much, but, you know, if it's your passion, just go after it.
And the thing is, I think we know this, if you're putting out the stuff that you believe in and you think is good and you think is authentic, no matter what it is you do, if you do it, enough people mess with you, people are going to like it. And they're going to decide whether they want to pay for it, if you can make it profitable, if other companies want to mess with you and do it. It can happen, but I think you have to have that belief in yourself and what you do. And here's the thing, like, there's a lot more people that could be putting out and producing great stuff that could give them some fulfillment, because that's the other part of it. It's not just financial. You have to also feel good about what you're doing, so when you go home, you feel good. It's like, yeah, this podcast is a labor of love.
Yeah.
You know, right now we're putting extra work. We both have jobs. We do this. People help us on this podcast. They have jobs. They do this. But you know, when I go home at the end of the day and I'm putting something together, we're cutting some clips and doing something, I feel good because I know I put out something that's good. So, you know, I feel like the message is like, yo, everybody who's out there, you listen to this podcast, you're watching this podcast, we love you and appreciate your support. But, like, yo, you can do your own thing, too. You can get up off your behind and do something. Find whatever that is that fulfills you. You can find it. And the other thing I thought Joe Rogan hit on, and now for me as a parent, I found super dope, was like, yo, teach your kids to do that, too.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't teach your kids the cycle of, oh, you got to do this and you got to work for somebody.
Yeah.
And you're repeating the same cycle. And this is a fight I've had with people who've been older at certain points and members of my family, because they're just stuck into the old way of doing something. They don't realize that things have changed or are still changing. So their whole thing was just like, yo, for a lot of people, not parents, it was just get a good job and work there for 25 years. And take your pension and retire. And
it's different now.
It's not the game anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes those older folks don't understand that. And if you're teaching your kid that today in 2018, you are doing your kid a disservice.
Yeah.
Because that's not what the game is. I tell everybody, control what you can do. I tell Greg, who's shooting our video right here, yo, Greg, get your camera. You got ideas. Do them. Shoot them.
Yeah.
What's stopping you from putting them out? There should be nothing to stop you from putting them out. Only thing stopping you is yourself.
Fear.
But fear, too. Fear can stop you.
Yeah.
Fear
comes from you, regardless. That's a feeling that you have.
You got to jump. It's not easy to jump. And you were saying that before. They're telling your homegirl, it's not easy to jump. But if you want to get anywhere, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it, man. So, like, you know, we wouldn't be here. It's just not we're not speaking from a holier than thou perspective.
Yeah, we don't want to sound preachy.
Nah, it's not to sound preachy. But I like motivate. I want people to be motivated. I want people to feel like I felt when I heard that video. That's like, yo, go do something.
Yeah.
Like you can create something too. There's no special gift we have or blueprint for us to have done what we've done. There's nothing special about it. There are certain things that have given us access to have the things we've had. Yes, and that took years of work too. Yeah. But there's nothing special. Everybody can go out and create. And I love supporting independent creators. You know that about me.
Yeah, me too.
I love supporting other creators. I love collaborating with other people. I love seeing that. I love people doing anything that they love to do, and I support that.